Hello everybody, once again to the Ligier European Series. A warm welcome for part 2 of the Le Castellet Heat, after these cars were racing early this morning at 9 o'clock, and there was a bit of incident here and there, but also a dominant display from the number 6 car of Eco Segre and his teammate in the number 6 car of Maxwell Dodds, and they eventually came home as winners. Had to navigate a safety car partway through that first race, and a decent lead at the time that they waved goodbye to, but dealt with it well. Couldn't pit immediately, even though the window had opened. Sometimes when you're on the wrong part of the racetrack, you've just got to wait until you're heading in towards turns 14 and 15 in order to pit as early as possible. The safety car, should we have one in this race, doesn't automatically close the pit lane as it would do in, for example, the European Le Mans Series race tomorrow. So there is strategy incorporated into this, and you've always got to remember what mode you are in, Ligier or Michelin Le Mans Cup or ELMS, because there are the same teams in all 3 of those competitions, so the engineers have got to be absolutely bang at it. A different grid, different qualifying drivers, in fact, for yesterday's qualifying 2. Maxwell Dodds to start on pole position, though, in the same car that took pole position for the earlier race, car 6, alongside Matteo Pianazzola. Then it is Roman Bachler in the 22, hopefully repaired Loire Valley racing car. Jude Peters for Team Virage will start 4th. Mathis Poulet for Trajectus Motorsport, and Josh Steeg completes the top 6 in JS P4. JS2 R, the pole sitter, is Enzo Calderas, with a big error in the race earlier on. Having done the pit stop, he then blew the red light at the end of pit road, and that was a very costly error indeed. The 18 car had to come in for well over 2 minutes into pit lane to serve a penalty, but they got a quick car. August Turbo for 23 events racing starts 2nd in the JS2Rs, ahead of Martin Lacqueman's Trajectus Motorsport. Then it's Cindy Goudet in the M Racing number 68. Noah de Cunha, who we didn't see anything of in the 50 Le Doux Saab car after that was damaged in race 1. And the VSF second car, Adrian Pavio, starting from 6th position. It's Johnny Palmer, it's Graham Goodwin, and we're ready to go for another 60 minutes of racing. Excellent.
Well, a couple of bits of parish news. First is that all 3 cars that were in trouble in this morning's first race are on the grid. You can see the bright yellow number 60 car that conked out at the chicane on the Mistral. Matteo Pianazzola at the wheel of that. Roman Bachler is there in 3rd place on the grid. Confirmed to me, by the way, after the race, it was steering damage after that clash with Ben Casely. And also the number 50 car, we saw the failure that put that car out as well, the JS2R car. That car too is on the grid, so we're back to 26 cars. Also to point out, as we saw in this morning's race, and it gave us some real good chases as a result, both the initial number 1 pole sitter for this race from Team Virage and the number 7 LR Motorsports JS2R pole sitter were penalised after fuel samples were taken. We think probably an unfortunate error, maybe after testing or other on-track activity for those cars. Penalised by having all their qualifying times deleted, both to the back of the grid entirely. But all we saw from that, Johnny, with both cars fighting their way back, and in particular fighting his way back, Simone Riccitelli ended up winning the race.
Yeah, phenomenal from the back to the front victory, and there are several cars with sort of similar stories to tell. Cars with great single lap speed. Can that be translated into 2 stints, either with a solo driver or 2 different drivers, and the driver change to take place between the 27-minute marker and the 34-minute marker into the race?
One other quick one to note, which is the 360 competition car, the 33 of Christian Brooks, also starting from the back of this grid, but we're about to go green. Johnny Palmer, over to you.
Here we go then. It's a similar front row, well, as in there's one car that was on the front row earlier on today. It was a fight on that occasion between ANS and Virage. This time it is the 60 car on the, technically speaking, inside of the front row, but that is not the favourable line. Instead, the number 6 car starting from driver's left in that pole position, and Maxwell Dodds does get a good getaway. Again, up to the usual antics, much further back is the number 1 car trying to pick off positions as those red lights go out. So around the outside will go Matteo Pianazzola and keep hold of second position, but under stern pressure from Roman Bakler, who was briefly ahead of the number 60 car and into second place. The 22 again looking good on the brakes around the outside of Virage de l'Hôtel, and that will give him the inside line then for the next left-hander. Is that move made? Still not quite yet. Virage du Comte will favour the yellow and black car of Pianazzola, who just about fends off then the Frenchman on his tail. But terrific fighting. The nature of this circuit, as it twists and turns, gives advantage for different cars when they are two abreast. However, the car keeping its nose entirely clean is that of Maxwell Dodds, who will lead for the first time onto the Mistral Straight.
And we've had some kind of well to the inside or the outside of the circuit there, trying to get by. Is he going to be allowed to keep that? Did he make the pass off the track? But at the moment, we've got Roman Berkler up into second place after a spirited first lap so far against Matteo Pianazzola. We've had some kind of furore to the back of the JS P4 grid here, because there's a group of JS P4s who've dropped back behind the JS2Rs, Johnny.
Yeah, so some sort of gap introducing itself. The 18 car, which was penalised heavily, is now going to be overtaken on the inside by a recovering Dario Cabanelas. Remember, that car put to the back of the grid because of the non-conformity fuel fan, but Cabanelas is the quicker of the two drivers in car number 1, so I'm not surprised to see that really making waves this early on. Cindy Goudet with a whole load of opposite lock as she mounted the curb there coming out of Double Drat de Beausset, and fighting with the 17 car of Miguel Angel Romero. And that Petrogold car did well to avoid. 1 lap to be ticked off then from an hour, and it is still the 6 car out front.
It is, but being paced now by Roman Berkler, and also being paced, Matteo Pianazzola has dropped back from Berkler, is under pressure now from the number 4 Nielsen racing car, Josh Steed. Here come the JS2Rs. We basically had a pair of JS P4s drop back into this group, and a pair starting from the back, putting up through them.
Yeah. And they were meeting in the middle, leaving very little space for the 2Rs, the JS2Rs, to find their rightful spots. The 7 car just caught a brief glimpse of, which was the earlier winner in the hands of Simone Riccitelli. And again, he's having to just keep things neat and tidy. And even if he's losing places, just keep the car on the straight and narrow. There's plenty of opportunity to get those places back again.
Looks at the moment as if this lead pair are pulling away a little. It's 1.5 seconds to good now. Maxwell Dodds and Roman Berkler ahead of Matteo Pianazzola, who's got a little bit of a queue stacking up behind him. In JS2R, meanwhile, it really is proper touring car stuff. And it is the pass of the lead, under braking into the chicane. Roman Berkler didn't see the start of that move, but saw the finish of it up the inside of the leader of the race, Maxwell Dodds. And it is the 22 car, after retirement in race 1, trying to make amends with a win here in race 2.
And this is all the confirmation that we needed to say it wasn't Roman's lack of speed in the earlier race. That had to be a car problem.
It was
all of a sudden it's
bent
back
steering,
again.
he told me. Yeah.
Oh, you spoke to him?
I did speak to him. A bit of a wiggle there from Berkler. He's right on the ragged edge here.
Bent steering. I actually suggested that. Mark that off in your diaries, folks.
Johnny
Palmer gets something right.
Let's put it on the things Johnny's got right. That's entry number 1.
Superb after 20 odd years at this game. So Cindy Goudet under pressure from Enzo Calderas. And Calderas again not with quite the speed that he may have had in the earlier race. This is set fair now for a wonderful fight though throughout the course of this race. The 22 car will only ever be driven by Roman Bakler today, whereas we've got the variable in car number 6, Eco Segrate, to come in the second half an hour.
Incident involving cars 60 and 22 at T7 lap 1 under review, forcing off track.
Yeah, so
that one's actually viewed.
That rather now suggests that they're going to be looking at the 60 as much as the 22. I did wonder that you're normally allowed one change of lane, one change of direction in the braking area, but there was just a squeeze and then a continued squeeze from the 60 car of Matteo Pianazzola. So they'll look at that from several angles.
I have to say, I've been impressed in the time we've been talking about Ligier European Series at the level of discipline at this level that race control are imposing on this field. And it does show, because the level of discipline, generally speaking, for the level of experience of these drivers is pretty high.
Yeah. And it should be similar, if not identical, to how championships are governed further up the ACO ladder, should they not? Because, you know, there's a little bit of slack, I suppose, with drivers early in their career, but you've got to get them in the right mindset if they have ideas of progressing into Michelin Le Mans Cup, ELMS, or perhaps the World Endurance Championship.
Cindy Goudet trying to fend off the very close attentions. Rendo Calderas for what is second place in JS2 R goes up the inside, makes a pretty... I didn't see a touch. Now, whether that was Cindy over the curbs and losing it, but I didn't see a touch from the angle we got there, Johnny. I don't know about you.
Difficult to say. I'd like to see it again to be sure, but it may well have been just a mistake as they were battling hard. There was also a puff of smoke from the bottom of Roman Backla's car, but I think that was the car grinding out, actually, as he mounted the curb on the exit of Beausset.
He did clatter the curbs there. Pretty aggressive start here from Roman Berkler, but Maxwell Dodd sticking with the programme as the number 4 car, Josh Steed, starts to fall back into the clutches with Matthias Poulet and Jude Peters behind.
Yeah. So Poulet in the white-nosed number 19. Here comes Peters in the orange visor for the Team Virage car, and will start to overlap Matthias Poulet. And if Peters can break just that little bit later into the S of Verrerie, that will be place gains. And Poulet had to get out of the throttle or just a bit more on the brake, make sure contact wasn't made. So good car placement from Jude Peters in his Virage car will bag him 5th place as a result.
Lead battle, by the way, is so close. The two cars half a second apart. Roman Berkler, purple sector on sector 1 on the last lap. Maxwell Dodd's purple sector on the final sector on the last lap. And the difference between the times for that lap between the two of them, under 200ths of a second. Great stuff.
August Turbo leading after 3 laps in JS2R. And speaking of JS2R, perhaps more contact for Cindy Goudet. That was definitely a side-to-side contact with the car that she is now racing with, which might have been the Petra Gold car of Miguel,
I think that was
Romero. And Florian Thiele is just ahead in the 41 VSF sports car. So out of the frying pan into the fire a little bit for the M Racing pilot Cindy Goudet after that spin at the chicane, which may well have been unassisted. But she'll be used to that after at least a season, possibly 2 years now in the Ligier European Series. Side by side between the number 7 that had such a good result earlier on, Simone Riccitelli, and it's Noé de Cunha alongside in the 50 car.
Remember the 7 from the back of the grid. So has made rapid progress once again and is already up into a provisional podium position.
Yeah, terrific effort to now be running 3rd. Enzo Calderas, the next on the list for Riccitelli. August Turbo's a bit further up the road with Jacques Nicolet actually serving as a cushion between 1st and 2nd in JS2R. Jacques is in a JS P4 from HP Racing by M Racing. Leaders over the line in JS P4, and it's the Loire Valley car of Roman Bacla, much more on form compared to a few hours ago. But being chased by Dodds.
It's the fastest lap of the race this time around by Roman Berkler. He knows now if he wants to take this win, he's got a fight in his hands, because the last lap before that was fastest lap of the race to Maxwell Dodds. All of a sudden, Roman is pulling a few tenths away here, but he's having to push to the max to achieve that.
And there's nothing between the Josh Steed and Jude Peters cars. In fact, lumped into that as well, Ruben Hage. His number 12 car, the blue and black, and Matthias Poulet within touching distance in the Trajectus car. So 1, 2, 3, 4. They're 4th, 5th, 6th, 7th.
And another group not that far behind of another 4 cars. So this has got a long way to go. 50 minutes still to run here. Fighting packs, if you like, at the moment. up and down both classes. This time up the inside, 27 on 4. I think that's going to make that stick, and the 4 car has to go over the curbs, must give that position up. 27 is through to 4th place in the hands of Jude Peters.
So a good example that actually you can overtake around the first bit of the chicane on the Mistral straight. Here comes the 4 car though, with a slightly better exit out of the chicane, despite it being off the road. Although, having said that, the 4 car of Josh Steed is going to lose another position to Ruben Hage in the ASM Motorsport number 12. So the blue and black car going through, and that will give him 5th.
It is a driving behaviour black and white flag for car 60, Matteo Pianezzola, after that investigation into the clash with 22 that leads the race now. So team manager car 60, led by M Racing Squad, been called to race control. That is going to be a very final warning.
Yeah, well, clearly the Pianezzola car, or Pianezzola himself, was driving in his mirrors as he headed up towards the chicane, could see that there was a very good run on his car. It squeezed down on Josh Steed, and consequently Josh had to take to the curbs at the chicane. Good dicing again. Ruben Hage round the outside perhaps of Jude Peters, but just runs out of road, or would have done had he not got out of the throttle, and now he's going to be on the back foot compared to Josh Steed, who gets a better run out of the Verrerie S. Also looking good on that part of the circuit in Matisse Poulet. Big lock-up, in fact, from Hage's car, and Steed will go through.
Yep, it's just going to show, doesn't it? Attack can turn into defence in the blink of an eye. So close in the Ligier European Series here. Meantime, here comes Simone Riccitelli on the number 18 car. This is for 2nd place now, Enzo Calderas. August Turbo, by the way, is just gone. He's, what, something like 8-9 seconds up the road.
Yeah, didn't need more than a single invitation to do that, and has left Enzo Calderas and Simone Riccitelli to fight amongst themselves. They've still got to get by Jacques Nicolet if they can manage that, as Hage goes deep again into the chicane and will head around Josh Steed's number 4 car.
Again, that position changes, and that tiny lift required from Josh Steed to give the racing room at the end of that has put him under attack from the 19 car behind.
And as these 3 cars fight amongst themselves, looming large in the distance is Amna Al-Kibaizi in the number 88 Team Virage car. So Amna and Hamda, her sister, had a good race earlier on. There was a fumble in the pit stop, we think, which delayed them, but there's nothing to stop an 88 car getting maybe a top 5 finish. Could be better than that, as Calderas keeps the elbows out, but he can't hold back Simone Riccitelli into 2nd position from the back of the grid. Riccitelli
round the outside through the chicane. Impressive stuff there, pretty clean. Hint of a little bit of track limits at the end of that, but I think he was already through.
Certainly got the majority of that overtake done legally, so that may be waved away. 5, no, make that 6 cars all together on the start finish straight within JS P4. So Edmund Backlack is 0.8 of a second to clear.
Being kept honest here, though, by Max Dodds. It is only 0.8 of a second. It got up to closer to a full second, clawing back tenths and hundredths here and there, Maxwell Dodds. So this is not done. They're pulling away, and there's trouble there for the 84 car. That's Architecture's car that was in 7th place in the hands of Adrian Pavio. Now, what happened here? Tried to move up the inside and just lost grip.
So tighter line, too tight a line for the Michelin tyres to cope with beneath it.
Terminal oversteer, I think we'll call that.
That's fair. Through the kink at 7 will go the 33 JS P4, which has been started by Chris Preen. So therefore, in the interval, when they make their stop at about half distance, Christian Brooks will take over.
So 27, 4th place for Jude Peters, leads a train of 9 JS P4s. That takes that position down to, what is that, 13th place. 12th place, and Adrian Vieira, and that group are separated by 4 seconds.
Up the slight incline on the approach to senior corner, but foot generally still buried, especially in one of these P4 cars with the downforce pushing that car hard down onto the road surface. So excellent grip from well, all of the cars in these races, but particularly the prototypes, the JS P4s that are out front. They're in one solid block from 1st to 15th, and when you get senior corner right, it is so rewarding. Out of senior into the double right at Beauce. That was Josh Steed running wide. So again, the downforce can only take you so far, and the problem now is that he's caught on the wrong side off the racing line. They're all queuing up behind him.
That's the problem. It's so close. Yeah. 2 positions gone in the blink of an eye. Then under pressure for a 3rd and maybe even a 4th.
That's almost like a NASCAR moment where you get out of the slipstream and then the whole pack comes streaming through as you are railroad into the outside.
Meantime, in the lead of the race, while we're watching this this pack, gap is coming down 0.6 of a second now.
Another cluster of JS P4s thunder their way down towards Virage du L'Hotel. So it is 33 now of Christian Brooks. A lock-up from that 33 car, and now sideways for Florian Thiele in the VSF sports car.
Sidney Goudet was in close proximity. We only saw the end of that. See again here, the other 2 cars together, and yes, there was a touch.
Yeah.
Front right to right rear, or left rear rather.
Front right wing just edging the wheel arch of Thiele's car, and that's all it takes to generate a spin. Side by side for the first of the Virage cars with the 12 of Ruben Hage. So Jude Peters on the wrong side as they approach senior corner. What will be Hage's run like through Beauce? It's not too bad. You naturally run out wide through the first part of that. This was a chicane though earlier on in this lap, and Hage muscling his way through. Nearly lost the car on the exit there, Graham.
He really did, didn't he? He did well to just gather up an armful of lock there and to retain the position. The incident we've just seen between Sidney Goudet and the 68 car of who is that one? That was Sidney Goudet is that car, the 41 car of Florian Thiele, under investigation. Here is the lead, and it's down to under 0.4 of a second now. So Roman Berkler, if we thought he was going to drive away, and if he did, wrong. Maxwell Dodds has been just clawing away at this, and this is going to be a cracking fight through the rest of this session for them.
It's a difficult task to work out precisely who is the quickest driver in the number 6, whether it's Max Dodds or Eco Segre. I think it's circuit dependent some of the time.
Well, but the plus side for Max Dodds and Eco Segre is they're going to get a fresher driver in halfway through this race.
True.
That is a major plus. No doubt at all, Roman Berkler, who will drive solo, real talent here, but 2 other talented drivers with a fresh pair of eyes, hands, feet is distinct advantage as they're just entering into a bit of traffic here with a 94 car.
And I wondered whether Dodds might have tried a manoeuvre up the inside of the chicane because of that confusion around the traffic. He did not. Looking back at the fastest race laps from earlier this morning, I mean, how close do you want it? Dodds and Segre were the quickest drivers. They're separated by 65 thousandths of a second. So just under 700ths. The best laps from Dodds and Segre were separated by that margin. Brilliant consistency from the 2 that ANS Motorsport have signed for this season.
So where are we? 41 minutes to go in this race. So getting closer and closer to the pit stop window. Roman Berkler for Loire Valley Racing, the 22 car, leads the race by 0.4 of a second for Maxwell Dodds in the ANS Motorsport number 6. Just a bit further back, 8 seconds back, after a driver standards warning. Iron Links by MR Racing 60 car in the hands of Matteo Piazzolla. So the 2 JS P4s that retired this morning are placed 1 and 3. Ruben Hage then leads this long pack of 9 JS P4s and takes us well out of the top 10. From Jude Peters, Matthias Poulet, Amna Al-Kabaizi gradually climbing the order. Dario Cabanillas, remember, started from the back of this grid, is now up into 8th place. Josh Steed and Andre Vieira complete the top 10. JS2 R. It is the 23 events racing August turbo car that has led from the start of this race 6 seconds to the good of a charging Simone Riccitelli in the LR Motorsport number 7 car, another car that started from the back of the grid, and in third Enzo Calderas in VSF Sports number 18.
Two together at the first corner. Andre Vieira in the number 44 car, and in behind is Julien Schell for Pegasus Racing. Not that far away, Josh Steed, now on a recovery drive in 9th. So he is getting sucked in, really, by these two in behind. And Josh Steed, not only did he lose position, but it might be that he's lost the peak end performance of car number 4 as well, as now Amna Al-Kibesi to the inside line and off the track to the outside through turn 7 was the number 1 of Dario Cabanelas. Bear in mind, these are teammates, despite the very different colour schemes on the cars. They're both running out of the Polish awning of Team Virage, and the number 1 does get the spot on the Emirati driver, but the only question mark about that was that Dario was well off the track to driver's right as he rounded the corner at turn 7.
Not done, almost alongside on the exit. Better exits from the turn for the number 88 car. Let's see how it goes as they come into C corner. Side by side still, but having to see position finally.
Yeah.
No shortage of fight here in these battles.
That's been impressive. And Hamda Al-Kibesi always offering similar speed. Generally, I think Hamda's been quicker this weekend. That's now out of Bose and into Bandor corner, the left-hander. Garlaban is the arcing right-hander. The Courbe du Garlaban. And then into the lake and the bridge corners to complete that. Gap from first to second has come down again. 0.2 of a second, slightly faster for Max Dodds.
I think he can get there.
Yeah. Is he fast enough, though, to be able to find a way by and do it in a convincing fashion?
This is still Simone Riccitelli. Still has Enzo Calderas just right up behind him. The pair of them are beginning to make inroads into that lead. 5.8 seconds is the gap. Car 57, meanwhile, that is our race leader in JS2R, August Turbo. 10 seconds added to the pit stop for a start infringement. Same penalty is going to go to the 17 car in 7th place, the Petro car. So on countback, that's the battle for the lead. Simone Riccitelli and Enzo Calderas.
Yeah, okay, impressive.
Oh, big lock up there from the number 6 car. That Maxwell Dodds still trying to get onto terms with Roman Berkler. No shortage of effort being expended here.
Good speed through the first sector from both Matteo Pianazzola and Ruben Hage as well. They've just set personal best times in 3rd and 4th places, separated by just over 3 seconds. Hage still under pressure from Jude Peters in the first of the Virage cars, number 27.
So this is the current 2nd place battle. As I say, with the car ahead of them, with a 10-second penalty to come at the pit stop. And it's going to be about fault-free running from this point on then. 15.83, this is the battle for 4th. Noda Kuna, Martin Lacama. Ladies and Arab number 50, Trajectus Motorsport number 83. And yet another battle. Simone Riccitelli has had quite the weekend, hasn't he? Both races he's been forced to drive through the pack to get onto terms. There is the race leader, 57. The gap now down under 5 seconds, and the news is getting worse for the 57 car. The gap's coming down, and still that 10 seconds to add.
The other thing to bear in mind is that the 18 car will gain 5 seconds in the pit stop because that's a 2-driver lineup, whereas Riccitelli's on his own, so you get an advantage as well. So weirdly, in this situation, it's the 3rd place car that will probably be leading coming out of the pit stops if we don't get any intervention from incidents. Side by side,
the 12 and the 27. 27 for Virage, Team Virage sitting in 4th with Jude Peters under pressure from Ruben Hage in the number 12 command from ASM Motorsports. They're in traffic. Then there's a battling trio. The 1 from Virage, ahead now of the 19 from Trajectus Motorsports. Dario Cabanillas ahead of Matthias Poulet, with Amnal Kabaisi trying to put the projector's car under pressure and follow through with the teammate ahead in the number 1 car.
Onto the back straight. Al-Kubaisi shaping up Poulet then for a potential overtake either at the chicane or before the chicane. The 88 car is ahead already, I reckon.
Got it, great pass.
So just much better straight line speed coming out of turns 6 and 7. As now Dario Cabanillas has to deal with one of the tail enders in JS2 R.
So the 3 Virage cars now 4th, 6th and 7th. Car 68 gets a drive-through penalty. That is Cindy Goudet for causing the collision with a 41 car that saw that car spin around.
Now to the outside line, Enzo Caldales.
Well, this is critical, isn't it, for Enzo Caldales? If he can take that position and he has that 5-second advantage, could be a race-winning move.
Yeah.
But has to be careful not to mess it all up with a fumble. This looks to me to be odds on to be our race winner, either one of these cars.
Yeah. Would you just hold station? Would you just follow Riccitelli's every move here, knowing that you're going to gain 5 seconds in the pit stop anyway? And generally, Lucas Papin has been quicker than Caldras.
Just checking the beginner's guide to being a racing driver. No.
You try and tell anyone in this field to just sit there. You'll win the race. Now to the inside line. Hayes ahead of Jude Peters in the 27 car.
Peters coming back though up the inside. Will have to follow to the outside, but has the advantage going to the next turn. Retakes a position. Great stuff.
They are so equally matched, these two. We found that in the latter stint of race 1 as well. That's the great thing. I suppose if you are the second driver in the first race, everything's fresh in your mind when you get into the car for the start of the second race. And it's those that are put in for qualifying 1 that have the bigger break. They do 30 minutes of racing and then several hours off before they finally get their hands at the wheel of their cars to finish their weekend off. All the racing done in Ligier's on a Saturday. Down the inside, Ruben Hayes, much better on the brakes, but Jude Peters says no you don't and tries to now go around the outside of the second part of the chicane. Great line off the chicane, but can't get underneath Ruben Hayes, who prevents the run for Jude Peters.
Almost wider than homologated JS P4 there, wasn't it, from the number 12 car. Behind, by the way, Amnal Kabaisi is catching the number 1 car and around the outside, and it's another pass, I think, for the 27, but passed again. This is cracking stuff from this pair, and squeaky clean to this point, at which point one of them's going to hit the other, isn't it?
Squeaky clean, just all of the tyres squeaked their way through. Bose now to the inside of Bandor corner, but there's no way through there either. Glorious sunshine now in the south of France for this second part of the Le Castellet Heat of the Ligier European Series. We've hit the 27-minute marker into the race. In fact, we're at 28 minutes in, so that means you can now head into pit road to do a driver change, but certainly a pit stop.
Maxwell Dodds has done exactly that. We've also got the number 50 car for Le Desarbres. Cindy Goudet is on pit lane as well, as is the Petrocol number 17, and a gaggle of JS P4s all in as well. The 6 from A&S Motorsports. Amnal Kabaisi is on pit lane, so is the 44. Roman Berkler still leads. Ruben Hage now through into second place, but of course they both will need to stop. This is the lead trio, with all sorts of calculations still needed to be done between the 57, the 7, and the number 18. 57 leads. The gap between the top 3 is under 5 seconds, but the 57 must serve a 10-second penalty. 7 and 18, therefore, would overtake the 57, but the 18 will get a 5-second advantage in the pits.
Are there any other cars in that list of the 10-second penalties? It's just the 2, isn't it? 57 and 17, yeah. So you pick those up. Car 68, a drive-through penalty for causing a collision with car 41. So that was the Goudet incident. So
Cindy Goudet has opted. Oh, she did take that drive-through, didn't she? She did take that drive-through. So that's been served. Here comes the number 50 car. Rather better afternoon than they had a morning. with the retirement of the car with a breakage front right corner. And that too comes the number 6 car. Where is the 22? Coming through turn 13 now.
Okay, but may go straight to the pits, in actual fact, to make sure that this pit stop is done before the 26 minutes to go time is. That's going to be in 4 minutes time. So it's a 7-minute pit stop window, effectively. All done, rather than being on a strictly pit stop window, it's done on driver time. So now the number 4 car of Josh Steed is ahead of Julien Schell in the 29 car. Roman Bakler is indeed into pit lane, but staying out Dario Cabanellas, so he will lead the race in car number 1. There's still enough time within that 4 minutes that remain to get in, and you only have to begin your pit stop in that 7-minute segment.
I think Lucas Turbo is going to go as far as he can before he has to take the pain of that penalty. The 18 car, meanwhile, from 3rd, with its shorter pit stop, has ducked out of that queue. But meantime, Simone Riccitelli has closed the gap to Turbo to 2.4 seconds. He's taken 2 seconds out of him in about the last lap and a half.
So Cabanellas, now Julien Schell up to 2nd position as Josh Steed came in as well. So Steed in, Bekler in, Ruben Hage in the 12 car is in, as is Matisse Poulet. Majority of those cars will be switching drivers with the exception of Roman Bakler.
Out comes the 18 in the hands of Lucas Papin. And on time and count back, that should emerge when all the pit stops are done as the new race leader in JS2 R. We'll wait and see whether or not that happens in reality. But just taking a quick look to see how efficient they were in the pit stop, pretty damn good.
Yeah.
Delayed in pit stop, though, was the 360 competition car. Now with Christian Brooks, trouble for the 6 car. Trouble.
Eco Segre with a very, very rare mistake. Now, they generally don't change tyres, so that can't be blamed on cold rubber towards the end of a lap.
I think that's cost him a run at being in the lead at the end of that.
Well, it was seconds, if anything, that they were playing with, and he's now blown probably 6 or 7 in rejoining there, all on his own, turning in, just too much right foot, I think.
Yeah, I think he was a little bit eager, wasn't he? I don't think he'd have quite made it to the lead, but he would have been darn close.
Yeah. That's very frustrating, and Roman Bakler all of a sudden firmly the advantage in the number 22 car.
Just waiting for the last couple of cars to complete their pit stops. Team Varage's Dario Cabanellas starting from the back of the grid. Made his way back to the lead, has now pitted. Will drop back, I'm sure. And we wait now for Julien Schell, I think will pit as well on this lap and does so. That will complete all of the pit stops. So next time around, we'll see the real order, Johnny, for the final 25 minutes of this race. And I think that's going to see Roman Bakler in the Loire Valley Racing team, number 22 car, lead probably Gregorio Bertoccio by about 3.5 seconds, 5.5 seconds.
Yeah.
And there is Eco Segre behind the 60 car. That pretty much confirms it.
So Bertoccio should be 2nd, Segre 3rd, but Segre might have the pace to attempt to get by, or certainly attempt to get by Grego Bertoccio. Whether he can complete that manoeuvre remains to be seen, as Dario Cabanellas scored as the race leader, but he is stationary in pit lane, serving their serving their pit stop, as everyone else has done.
Here comes the 57 car. Lucas Papin has indeed gone through into the lead. Simone Riccitelli has indeed gone through into 2nd place. The gap between the two, 2.3 seconds. Turbo comes through and will remain in 3rd place after serving that 10-second penalty on pit lane for a start infringement. So from 1st to 3rd with that penalty.
Yeah. How easily that can happen. Cabanellas, meanwhile, did he get going and then stop again?
I think he may be in trouble here.
well, the team in the background is Pegasus, not Team Virage,
I think
which the #1 car is.
That was a stumble. It's Laura Villas, isn't it, aboard that car?
Yeah.
How long was that car on pit lane? 1:51, yeah, 5 or 6 seconds lost with that. This is the battle now for JS2R. Not that long ago, these two were battling for second place in the opposite order, but now it's the 18 car trying to fend off the charging #7 LR Motorsport car, the black car with the white part bonnet and roof with the Italian racing colours, the stripes across the top of the car. But closing in again is the 57 car of August Turbo. Lap times here are going to be interesting.
My other concern is the pit stop time for car 60. 1:41 looks to be miles quicker than anybody else. I had a feeling it was a 1:45 seconds
Just double
pit
check.
stop. Unless, yeah, you can check, because there was a time issued to us. You get 5 seconds that can be saved on that.
105 seconds for 2 driver crew.
For a 2 driver crew, and then it's
110.
additional 5 seconds if you're a single driver.
Correct.
So nowhere does it say 100 seconds.
Nowhere does it say 100 or 101.
101.
Correct. So that is a problem for the second place car.
Yeah, that was my concern. No one else has gone anywhere close to that. They've all done 1:45s or north of it.
That could be very good news, Rico Seagray.
My other thought about why the #1 car in the hands of Laura Villas stopped was that they thought they were going to breach the pit stop and told her to park it for another 5 seconds. In fact, they didn't need to do that.
They didn't.
Because it was 1:45 they were aiming towards, but they've gone over 1:50, which is the single driver pit stop time. Anyway, questionable now whether Grego Patocco gets to keep this second place, or whether we get a message on the screen to say that that is going to be investigated.
Yellow flags at the final turn now removed. There's been a bit of a drama for someone here. Yes, there has. It's the #12 car. It is now Luis Carlos Perez Cabello in the #12 ASM Motorsport car, sitting in 8th place right now.
And also running wide there was the #17 JS2R car, the Petrogold car of Henrique Cruz. But he just ran wide between Senior and Bose, so no spin. Just some time lost for the Portuguese, sharing with Miguel Angel Romero of Spain.
Work out just how the Nielsen Racing car has lost so much.
Here comes Segre to one side and then the other, and will be able to pick off Grego Patocco, irrespective of whether the 60 car gets a penalty to serve for that extra time that it needed to do in the pit stop. So Segre is through. Now Laura Villas under pressure from the 44 car of Andre Vieira.
And with Julian Schell catching this pair as well. Makes that move finally. There's a bollard on the racing surface in the lead up to the chicane. See whether or not race control decide that is any kind of issue where it is. So Birkler leads 9 seconds from Nico Seagray. So now's the time to keep an eye on whether Seagray has got any kind of pace to follow that charge from Roman Birkler. Gregorio Patocco is right with Seagray, but we think maybe in a little bit of trouble. We'll wait and see what happens from race control for that pit stop time, with Vic Stevens 7 seconds back from Patocco in the first of the two garage cars that sit in 4th, 5th, and then Laura Villas in just inside the top 10. Hamdi Al-Kabaisi is catching her teammate for 4th place in the number 88 car. In JS2R, VSF Sports 18, in the hands of Lucas Papan, is being caught by Simone Riccatelli in the LR Motorsport number 7 car. He has passed him once in this race already. August Turbo, or has passed that car rather once already. August Turbo, meanwhile, having taken that penalty for the start procedure problem, is in 3rd place and not catching the cars ahead of him at the moment. 1, 2, 3.
Nice little battle between Ben Casely in car 4 and Andre Vieira in the number 12 car tucked in behind. And the question is then, what's happened to Luis Perez Caballo in the... Oh no, that was the 12, sorry, of Caballo. Andre Vieira is a bit further back in car 44, and Vieira pursuing Laura Villas not too long ago as well. Onto the Mistral straight will go Julien Schell in his 10th placed Pegasus racing car, trying to stick with Andre Vieira as much as possible. Then there's the gap in front of Vieira's car to the next duo in question. And down the inside goes Pietro Ferri, sharing with Michael Bulsa-Kelly, who had a very entertaining stint earlier in the day. Bulsa-Kelly, meanwhile, has done the first half an hour and now handed over to his Italian teammate Ferri.
Yeah, under 20 minutes to go. The gap for the lead now over 10 seconds. And we see for the first time acknowledged on our screens, car 60 under investigation, pit stop infringement. We're pretty certain, Johnny, that it's a pit stop time infringement. And that's it's, what is that, 4 seconds under?
Yeah. Maybe 3.5, it might be, who knows, but the point is it's under the 105 second rule.
It's going to hurt.
Well, you're going to come in and serve the time that you didn't, but the problem is it requires a full drive down the pit lane, and even if you didn't stop, that takes you 25 seconds, plus then the extra time and the time it takes you to stop and get back up to speed again. So
damage, meanwhile, on the left-hand rear of the number 33 car, currently in the hands of Chris Preen, trying to get onto terms with Jacques Nicolet for 14th place. That is not going to be helping the campaign.
Over the curb as well, emphasising perhaps the damage to the tail of that number 33 car, with Jacques Nicolet for company. David Cosenel is a lot further up the road. Cosenel for Pegasus Racing has driven with Julien Schell in the past, but in the sister car number 16. Yeah,
in the background you can also see the JS2R lead battle is pretty much joined. It's under a second now from Simone Riccitelli. This, meanwhile, is our somewhat lonely race leader, and he's pulling away now from Nico Segre. So Segre is not making an impact here. 209s, low 209s at that for Roman Berkler, to low mid 210s for Miko at the moment. Abdel Kabaisi, though, is looking rapid right now, is getting onto terms with Vic Stevens ahead in the sister Team Virage car for what would be 4th.
Hamda, for a long period of her stint in race 1, was running in 3rd position with co-driver or with teammate Vic Stevens, also from Team Virage. They seem to be level pegging one another, and they're only separated by 1.5 seconds in this race. Now to the inside will perhaps go Christian Brooks. He's not quite close enough to pick off Jacques Nicolet into the S of the Verrerie sequence there, turns 1 and 2.
It's Chris Preen.
Beg pardon. No, Chris should have started this race. Have they not switched it?
Oh.
Because Christian did the opening stint in the earlier race, so he should be in as the latter stint for this one. That was my marking of it. Let me just double check as to who was officially starting driver.
So keeping an eye on where the gaps are in particular JS2R, who keep an eye on 33 and 58 battling away.
So car 33, oh no, Christian Brooks started, so you're right, Chris Breen took over, and therefore the driver ID is correct. That's my memory.
The background behind the graphic at the moment, that is the battle for JS2R, and last time through a timing loop, that was a little over a second. Slightly slower lap last time around from Simone Riccitelli. Still battling. This is the battle for 9th. Luis Carlos Perez Caballo and Julien Schell. Schell at the moment appears to have the quicker of the two cars here.
I'm probably confused now, because on the grid sheet for both race 1 and race 2, Christian Brooks was due to start both. But the other complication is that we didn't get any times from the 33 car. in qualifying. So I wonder whether they've just inserted Brooks onto the grid sheet automatically. We'll keep our eyes peeled anyway for the 33 car. It's shown as Christopher Preem at the moment. Here's the battle for 9th position between Perez Cabello and Shell that you were talking about.
Julian Shell trying to get onto terms here. Gets a good run at the chicane, but not quite close enough, I don't think, to get a run on the 12 car ahead into Scene Corner. But Julian Shell, hugely experienced, will know where the battling can be done. That's a positional change. 33 car now ahead of Jacques Nicolet.
Still, the bodywork on the rear of 33 is flapping away, and a charge down the inside. Did that result in contact? No, it did latterly, yes, and that's not helped out the extremities of that rear left of car 33. The two Team Virage drivers right together, and this brings back immediate memories of that 9 to 9:30 stint this morning between these two the same drivers. Vic Stevens, you mentioned it was Even Stevens in the earlier race, well, it's Vic Even Stevens battling with Hamza El Khabazi.
I'll try to think up some kind of pun to do with El Khabazi, but that might take me a while. It's good to see Hamza and Amna enjoying their campaign in Ligier European Series, continuing a family tradition in sports car racing, led by their dad Khaled, who was a popular part of quite often, I think, the Proton competition squad back in the day, WC race winner.
Yeah, and Khaled was in Barcelona. He may well be here as well. I haven't seen him.
Not seen him.
Okay,
not seen him.
Well, he was certainly in support of his two daughters 4 weeks ago in Catalonia. Now, the 60 car has not yet been in, has it, to serve a penalty? Still running in.
They've not had a decision yet.
Right, so you can't respond preemptively. You have to wait for any sort of decision to head in your direction from the stewards.
So 12 cars now been passed by the number 3, so a bit of a drop down the order. Damage to the rear of that car as well. Would say, by the way, the two Team Virage cars are catching the number 60 car, and as I say it, the 60 gets a 4-second stop-and-go penalty. So that battle for 4th between Vic Stevens and Hamza El Khabazi is now a battle for a podium position, or will be, once the penalty is served. Our race leader, Roland Berkler, after 47 minutes, puts a lap on the last of the JS P4 runner, Jacques Nicolet.
So along that short straight, which isn't very straight at all between turns 2 and 3, but it's fast, and then you've got to get your braking point right into Virage du L'Hôtel. It's very easy to mess that up and then be slightly offline for the next couple of corners.
That reveals, by the way, the number 1 Team Virage car, the other one aside from these two we're looking at here, the blue and white car, under investigation for track limits. We'll see how that one turns out for the number 1 car, which is out of the top 10 now. Maravillas. And splendid isolation, really, behind the ASM number 12 car and ahead of the 16 Pegasus car of David Coussinel.
Back onto the Mistral as Amna El Khabazi looks on, and knowing that heading their way might well be a podium result. Will it be a third? Will it actually be a second if Hamza can work out a way of getting ahead of Vic Stevens? It's still just about got the measure.
It would still be third because Eco is ahead of the 60 car. We can see the 3 yellow cars here now.
So it's 5th at the moment for Hamza. It's very likely to become 4th, and it might even be 3rd, but unlikely to be better than that.
Unless we have dramas, which, let's face it, we often do. But has got the pace to get onto the back end of the teammate. Has not yet been in a position at this phase of the race to get by. Meantime, 7th place. Nielsen Racing's Ben Casely under pressure from Pietro Ferri ahead, Andre Vieira behind the 44 car. So literally all the 4s, 4 and 44.
The other thing that I've spotted is Lucas Papa and Simone Riccitelli turning up the wick. They've just done personal bests through the middle sector. The gap between them is only 0.8 of a second. Remember, again, the 7 car from the back of the field, pressurising Lucas Papa.
Overtake at the rear of the JS P4 field, with Christopher Preen ceding that position again to Jacques Nicolet. In comes Gorio Bertocchio, and immediately Vic Stevens and Hamid Al-Kabaisi go through. I think he may well lose at least one more position here. That's the 4 seconds served.
Now to the inside line at turn 5 goes the 27 of Vic Stevens, but Hamda can't quite get through at the same time. Amna can't bear to watch because she knows this is going to be costly and might rue them or might do them out of a podium, because there's only 10 minutes to go, and it's those little bits of traffic where patience is the bottom line, really, even though you're thinking, I'm losing crucial road position here. But is Hamda still quick enough to reel back in Vic Stevens? We'll wait and see. Here's the fight amongst the 4s then, 4 and 44, which is for 6th place. Vieira ahead of Ferry.
That what we just saw there was Julien Schell going by the number 60 car on the way out of the pits, so drops to 10th place after that stop and go penalty. Still Ben Casely fending off the 44 car. This is now for 6th place with the woes for the 60. So day getting better for that pair. Vic Stevens puts in his fastest lap of the race. Car 1 gets a drive-through penalty. Meantime, for track limits, that car down in 12th place though. But both of the Team Virage cars in the 209s, they're not far away from Eco Segre, you know. This gap is going to close at this current pace. It's going to be a battle for second.
You can add car 74 to the drive-through penalty list as well, which is the other Loire Valley racing car of Carl Pedrazza.
Now, this is the lead battle for JS2R. Hamid Al-Kabaisi is dealing with that traffic. She's had a delay. She's dropped back by about a second and a half in the last lap.
2:12.2, yeah.
Might have been a bit of traffic.
Well, I think we saw it. It was the moment where she couldn't get through turn 6 because of her JS2R sitting in the apex doing nothing wrong.
So what have we got? We've got the lead in JS2R up for grabs right now, 7.5 minutes to go, and every chance that we'll see a battle for second place between Eco Segre, Vic Stevens, and if she can get back to the rear of Vic Stevens, Hamid Al-Kabaisi.
Yeah. But at the moment, the speed from Hamda is maybe not quite quick enough in the time that remains to reel in Vic Stevens, who now he hasn't got the distraction of that yellow and orange car immediately behind his similarly coloured machine. He can really get his head down now and just focus on pulling away. He's only 1.7 seconds away from Eco Segre's number 6 ANS car.
Yeah, he's catching him very quickly, taking another half a second out in the last lap. It was close to 2 seconds out the lap before that. Car 33, meanwhile, a 5-second time penalty. Here comes the number 1 car to serve the drive-through. So 33 is 15th place. Christopher Preen not following the race driver's instructions at turn 8. Race director's instructions at turn 8. That would have been rejoining the track at the chicane. So plenty still up for grabs here, Johnny Palmer.
And still, the Ben Casely, Andre Vieira fight rumbles on. In behind them is the number 3 car, Pietro Ferri, getting involved as well, as now Vieira's off the road and Ferri will take the place. As simple as that.
Yeah.
Squeal of tyres possibly from Ben Casey. Yes, it is, because now he's slithering and sliding his way through the latter portion of Beausset.
And we'll be under pressure from that number 3 car as well. So could we get to the position where Pietro Ferri moves from 6th to 4th, not 4th, my apologies, 8th to 6th rather, in just a few corners. This is still our battle for the lead in JS2R, and with under 6 minutes to go, now it's time for the intimidation tactics.
Yeah, just suggesting a manoeuvre without any actual intention of pulling off something like that, but just fading to the inside line, showing your nose might just provide the distraction needed for the race leader, Lucas Papin. Riccitelli already with a race win and on course for a second place finish as well, both from the back of the field. Casey, so he did not get past by Pietro Ferri, but it would have been close coming out of Beausset after Casey's moment.
It is, though, a moment under investigation, and it is a moment between the 4 and the 44 causing a collision. Here comes Riccitelli. This is the moment. Looks to the outside. Will he dive to the inside or try to get it done from that position? I don't think he's got the run to do it here. 18 sticks to his line. Gets a neat getaway, but Riccitelli is close enough here to get a bit of a toe, Johnny.
So they continue their run down the Mistral. It gets slightly uphill towards the end. Now around the outside of the chicane. Late on the brakes will go the number 3 of Pietro Ferri to pick off Ben Casey. Do they have the real estate just ahead of them, though? Because there's the 57 August Turbo-driven car.
Third place still in JS2 R.
Turbo was looking for a way by one of the back markers in JS2R, which was the 74 of Carl Pedrazza.
Yeah, I think August realises he's not going to catch this pair on pace, so I think he's going for a conservative race to take the points today. But under 4 minutes, there's surely a lunge coming somewhere with those two.
Now then, here's the fight for second and third. It's the white number 6 car of Eco Segre being caught and then some by Vic Stevens in the 25, and it's side by side for the head of the order in JS2R. To the left, it's the green and white car. Now right as we look at it clearly, which is Lucas Papin, who led across the line. Simone Riccitelli, earlier race winner in part 1 of Heat 2 of this year's Ligier European Series. But who's going to win this one? VSF car slightly better off the corner, but the inside line to Riccitelli, and they have a bit of a touch partway down this straight and into turn 3 with a hotel right-hander, and he's made the move stick, Graham.
Well, there you go. Little bit of intimidation, little bit of roughhouse stuff, but pretty clean, I thought, there from Simone Riccitelli. Tried to close the door, coming through 18, ran wide, and from there run in, it was game on.
Now, what has Vic Stevens got up his sleeve? He's going to pounce from quite a long way back there to head over the curb on the inside of the chicane, but consequently didn't get the better run out of the corner and along the Mistral. So Eco Segre lives for a bit longer in second place. 2.5
minutes to go, so it should be this lap and one more. Yes, I'm sure of that. So next lap should be our final lap, and still both these battling pairs for second in JS P4 and for the lead in JS2R, nothing between them.
It's excellent stuff. I mean, it's what we've become used to from the Ligier European Series in recent seasons, and races throughout the 60 minutes as well. So great in terms of the duration of the battling. They're perfectly timed races, these, about right to work out precisely who should be winning the race. As now to the outside line, Riccitelli. Papin looking to repay the favour, though, after that overtake a few moments ago. Now arriving on the scene is Vincent Boutellier in his number 19 JS P4.
Yeah, the JS2R didn't want any of that. It's nope, not right here. Meantime, how's this going to go? Eco Segre, Vic Stevens. Stevens looked to have the quicker car at the moment. Segre seems to have the wider car at the moment.
Yeah, and which one is going to come out as the winning version of that is the big question. Riccitelli over the line. Papin at very close quarters. Final lap scored for the race leader. This is the second place fight, though, in JS P4. Eco Segre ahead of Vic Stevens, and Segre maybe slightly off the ideal racing line. He's having to react a little bit to Vic Stevens' lines, a little bit. He's snaking from one side of the road to the other just to try and throw Vic Stevens off the scent, but it's not working to this point. Stevens will now commit to driver's right, And straight line speed is very good. Into second place goes Vic Stevens, and Eco Segre, who's been the star to this point in the championship, seems to have no answer for it.
Well. That was I thought we were going to have a lunge. Didn't need it, did we? Meantime, here's a similar story in JS2 R, the two lead cars, Simone Riccitelli, Lucas Papin. It's not going to be the same move here, is it? Surely. Aerodynamically rather different, and I think Riccitelli has got this one covered, but he does have a car ahead of him.
Now, Vic Stevens thinking, I've made the move, don't make a mistake.
Oh,
he's at the back end now at Beausset, and there goes Eco Segre. Says, thank you very much. That's all it might take. Meanwhile, Roman Bakler at the head of the order will exit Virage Dupont for the 27th time to take victory after a disastrous race earlier on when the steering was heavily bent. He had to retire the car, but he will get the maximum in the second portion of Heat 2. And what a story this battle has to tell us. Vic Stevens thought he got it in the bag into the final sector, made the error into Beausset, and Eco Segre was there to hoover up the place and take back second position and very valuable championship points. Vic Stevens will be kicking himself, and that slow speed error into Beausset. Now there's a big lockup from the number 18 VSF car. Is this last ditch manoeuvre into Virage Dupont?
It is.
Oh, there's contact, and we didn't want it to end like that. There's spin then for the 7 of Simone Riccitelli, and rejoining. Well, they'll have to take the flag at some point, I suppose, but surely that's not going to stand after severe contact at Virage Dupont. The front of that number 18 car rather dishevelled after it. I thought from the body language of Lucas Papin's car he was going to make one final attempt. Not quite fully alongside though, Graham.
Don't think so. That looked a little late to me. Nothing taken away though from Roman Berkler. Great run from him. Was kept honest for a goodly proportion of this race. Eco Segre did not help his campaign with that spin on his outlap. That effectively handed a good advantage to Roman Berkler, but boy did he take it. 20 seconds to the good at the end of what has been a very closely contested second race here at Paul Ricard. We're going to have to wait, I think, for a decision on how the race controller and the stewards see what happened at the final turn. At the moment, across the line, the VSF Sports number 18 of Lucas Papin takes the win. Here's what happened, and here's why we're going it that way.
Well, just before we cut to that, there was a big lock-up from Papin as he headed into turn 13, and then ran out of brakes, perhaps, into 14.
Well, he was over the curb.
Took the bollard out.
Took the bollard.
In my mind, that's probably only going one way, but we don't know.
So. We'll wait and see.
And I suppose the good news is that at least Riccitelli finished. He did get over the line in second position, so it wouldn't be a big surprise if those two places were just switched around.
Yep.
And Lucas Papin will still get good championship points, even if he is put down to second position. But pay close attention to the Ligier European Series social media channels for any adjustment in the result. At the moment, it stands like this. Roman Bakler with a terrific drive for Loire Valley Racing, number 22, after 27 laps, winning by 20.5 seconds over Eco Segre and Maxwell Dodds. They had their hands full with Vic Stevens and Jude Peters chasing them down. Stevens was ahead going into the final sector, but then made a very slight error at Beausset, giving the place back again. The Alcubasi sisters finished fourth ahead of Mathis Poulet and his teammate Vincent Boutellier. Then it was the LR Motorsport number 3 in 6th. Nielsen Racing 7th for car 4. ASM Motorsport 44 in 8th. Iron Links by M Racing's Grego Botocco in the 60. They had a penalty to serve because of a pit stop that was too quick. And the 29 Pegasus Racing car finishing in 10th. JS2R is won at the moment by VSF Sports, and Lucas Papin with his teammate Enzo Calderas could change to LR Motorsports Simone Riccitelli, which would be an amazing weekend with 2 wins for car 7. Thanks for joining us for Ligier European Series. From Graham and Johnny, we'll see you next time.
Donc en troisième position, à the third place, Team Virage, avec Vic Stevens et Jude Peters. Bravo! En deuxième position, nous aurons ANS Motorsport avec Ico Segret et Maxwell Dodds. Bravo! Et la victoire du Castellet Heat revient à l'équipe Loire-Valais Racing, Romain Butler et son team manager. Bravo. Bravo à tous. Et maintenant, place à l'hymne national de France. Bravo, maintenant, le moment de la photo officielle. Messieurs, raise your trophy, levez vos trophées pour la photo officielle. Pour Paolo qui va nous réaliser une photo exceptionnelle qu'on retrouvera sur le site Ligier European Series.com. Est-ce que c'est bon pour vous, monsieur Fo? Ok, maintenant, champagne. C'est parti, célébrons le Hit Castellet pour la catégorie JSP4 Overall. Cette course magnifique dans le sud de la France. Merci à tous. Ouais, quelle ambiance. Quelle ambiance, merci beaucoup. Bravo, bravo messieurs. Superbe. On enchaînera bientôt avec la catégorie JSP4 Pro-Am. We will move right away for the next categories, GSP4 Pro-Am, for the next podium. Donc on enchaîne tout de suite avec la catégorie JSP4 Pro-Am et le vainqueur 360 compétition avec Christopher Prin et Christian Brooks. Bravo messieurs! Ils arrivent, ils sont sûrement en interview. Ils sont juste là. Bravo messieurs. Mettez-vous sur la première marche du podium. On the first step of the podium. You can take the trophy. Vous pouvez prendre les trophées pour nos photographes et pour nos fans à travers le monde qui regarderont ces images. Raise your trophy. Thanks a lot. Thanks, guys. Champagne now, if you want. Pas de champagne aujourd'hui, mais je comprends. Il fait très chaud. Nous allons ensuite, nous aurons la catégorie JSP4 AM, JSP4 AM, qui arrivera bientôt à la fin de la mise en place. Et maintenant, pour la catégorie JSP4 AM, Racing avec David Kosanel et Yuki Tanaka. Bravo messieurs! levez vos trophées pour la photo officielle. Bravo, bravo messieurs. Ensuite, champagne ou non avec les enfants, c'est peut-être pas une bonne option. Mais merci à vous en tout cas. C'était une très belle course. Bientôt, il y aura le JS2 R overall. The podium for the JS2 R overall category will come as soon as possible. Messieurs, dames, place au podium JS2R overall. Let's have the podium ceremony for the JS2R category. In the third place, en troisième position, nous avons VSF Sport avec Lucas et Enzo Caldaras. Petite erreur technique résolue par nos équipes qui sont aux soins. En deuxième position, nous aurons 23 Events Racing avec Auguste Terbo. Bravo! Et la victoire revient à LR Motorsport avec Simone Riccitelli. Bravo! L'Italie remporte la première victoire ici en JS2R. Et les chants du public. Bravo à tous. Et ils signent leur deuxième victoire de la journée. Bravo. Maintenant, place à l'hymne national du vainqueur. De l'Italie, évidemment. Merci à la régie pour cet hymne iconique. Maintenant, le moment de la photo officielle. Pilote, levez vos trophées. Now the official photo. Drivers, please raise your trophy. Bravo. Bravo à tous. Paolo nous dit que c'est bon. Et donc maintenant, champagne. Now, time for champagne. Come on guys! Ouais! Super! Bravo à tous les pilotes de la catégorie JS2R. Nous allons bientôt enchaîner avec la catégorie JS2R Pro Am et on aura le vainqueur. On enchaîne tout de suite avec la catégorie suivante, le podium JS2R Pro Am, the next category JS2 R Pro Am Podium. Et les vainqueurs sont Trajectus Motorsport avec Nicolas Markiewicz et Adrien Pavio. Bravo messieurs, qui se place sur la première step de podium. Pilote, prendre votre trophée. Ah, le team manager. Vous pouvez prendre les trophées. Raise your trophy guys. And congrats. It was an amazing race. Amazing day in here at Castellet. Thanks a lot. Merci à vous. Et maintenant, champagne. Ou pas de champagne, en tout cas, on célébrera tous ensemble plus tard. Pendant ce temps, la catégorie JS2 R amateur se prépare. Et nous appellerons le vainqueur dans quelques instants. On enchaîne tout de suite et on finit, on clôture tout ça avec le podium JS2R AM, le podium JS2 R AM avec à la tête VSF Sports et Florian Tellier et Tristan Clay. Bravo messieurs! Bravo messieurs! Now the official picture, you can raise your trophy. Bravo! And now champagne, guys! Et la relève qui monte sur le podium, la relève est assurée, comme on dit. Bravo, bravo, monsieur. Ah, champagne. Il fait chaud ici dans le sud de la France. Bravo! Et on a reçu tout le monde. Bravo, merci beaucoup. Un grand bravo à tous les pilotes et à leurs équipes. Merci à vous tous d'avoir assisté à cette cérémonie. On se retrouve très bientôt pour le prochain round de la Ligier European Series au circuit mythique des 24 heures du Mans. Les billets sont disponibles, il en reste, n'hésitez pas. Congratulations again to all the drivers. Thank you all for joining us today. See you soon at the next round of the Ligier European Series in Le Mans.